And what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Designated Players, an MLS podcast. We are back again with more MLS history, and we have a great one for our Philadelphia Union friends as well as our Sporting KC fans. First, after the Sons of Ben created the Philadelphia Union, as we spoke about in our last episode, go check it out if you haven't already. They were treated to a smashing home opener thanks to a hat trick by the legendary Sebastien. Then we'll help our SKC fans relive a magic preseason moment when they beat Manchester United 2-1 in front of over 50,000 fans. I'm Andrew, that's Connor, and this is MLS History Retold. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, me too.
How are you doing?
I just said I'm doing great. Why are you asking me again?
Well, you didn't give me a chance to ask you.
Oh, now you just look silly. Get him comments. Tell him he's silly.
Comments. Tell him he's rude for not giving me an opportunity to ask him how he's doing.
Listen, I'm from New York. I'm allowed to be rude. People don't
No,
get that
you're not
down
from New
here.
York anymore. You lost that. You lost
People
that
don't get
privilege.
that down here. I'll make a comment and they're like, what? And I'm like, guys, I'm kidding. Like, I'm sarcastic. um,
You say sarcastic, they'd probably use some other choice words.
they've got some comments. What I want to comment on is your scarf for this episode. What are you rocking?
A huge stretch of all
Oh,
imagination.
God.
I do not own a KC scarf. I do not own a Manchester United scarf. But we are talking about an English team, so I'm going to bring out my English team scarf for the biggest team in all of England, the Blues.
That is, that's disgusting. Did you guys even win this week?
We haven't played yet. We beat
Uh,
Tottenham last on Thursday though.
Oh, yeah. So did everybody else. That's, that's not impressive. It's like saying you beat Southampton.
We got Brentford tomorrow morning, so gonna have to
Well,
wait to find out if we win this week.
we
Probably
ended
won't.
we ended Arsenal's title hopes, so.
I mean, they didn't have title hopes anyway.
Yeah, I know. The Premier League's been so boring this year.
It was awful. Same team's going down.
Yeah,
Liverpool running away with it.
yeah. But don't worry,
You know who's not boring? Major League Soccer.
you're damn right. I'm rocking the Union because I'm talking about Sebastian Letou. I probably, if I didn't have this, I'd pull out a Red Bull scarf because of his time in Red Bull, all 12 games of it. But um, yeah, which is funny because I remember him vividly being here and like having massive contributions, which is funny. You know, as much as I can remember his contributions to Red Bull, I think people will most likely remember his contributions to the Union because their rise to MLS was something out of a storybook, one that is rarely seen in American sports. Fans creating the teams versus teams creating fans. And we told that story last week. You definitely should go listen to it if you haven't already. It's a brilliant, brilliant tell of how the Philadelphia Union came to be. But because of all that work, it only felt right that this group get rewarded for their efforts. That reward did not take long to materialize, as MLS legend Sebastien provided something to celebrate just 2 games into the year 2010. Because in 2010, Philly became MLS's 16th club. Feverishly backed by fan support, they joined up in MLS with tons of pride, playing their home matches at Lincoln Financial Field, home of the Philadelphia Eagles, as they awaited construction of their soccer specific stadium in Chester, PA. Expansion team building was not like it was today, where the expansion teams have all these high profile designated players or exciting U22s, but they're more so mentally set with immense league experience and talent along with exciting college prospects. Draft mechanisms were key to build this side. In the college super draft, household names like Danny Mwanga, Amobi Akugo, and Jack McInerney joined as some of the club's selections. Then they went to the expansion draft, where they secured the services of MLS experienced veterans like Brad Knighton, Jordan Harvey, Andrew Jacobson, Shea Salinas, and Alejandro Moreno, all across all lines of their team, which is interesting because in 2010, the drafts were double the size of the current setup. They got 10 picks instead of 5, and that's likely due to the lack of international pull MLS had at the time. But it was key because they had one other name that they called in this expansion draft, and it changed the course of Philadelphia Union history. And that man was Sebastien Letou, a striker who at the time was on the books at Seattle and also spent time in France with FC Lorient, where he recorded 26 goals and 11 assists in his time with Seattle, but that was mostly when they were a USL side. So he came into MLS play and he only had 2 goals and 5 assists, which led to him being unprotected and the Union selecting him. This decision, unbeknownst to anybody at the time, would go on to create what can only be described as a Union legend by the time his boots were hung up, because it did not take long for him to make the impact that the Union needed. Their season would start on the road to those very same Seattle Sounders, and while this game does not have a ton to do with the story, I have to point out this really fun fact. In this game against the Seattle Sounders, Sebastian Letou had nothing to do with it. But Peter Novak clearly went into the locker room, the head coach of Philadelphia Union, and gave him the old let them know you're there early speech, right? Danny Califf, center back for Philadelphia Union at the time, took that to heart, and he earned a yellow card in just 33 seconds. And before halftime, Finnish midfielder Tony Stahl, who was drafted in the Super Draft out of UConn, saw two yellows and was sent off. Why is this important to the story? It's not. But why is it funny? Because that was Tony Stahl's single memory of MLS. In the rest of his 4-year soccer career, he never stepped foot on an MLS pitch again. He was essentially dropped from the Philadelphia team and let go at the end of the year, spending the rest of his career with Fort Lauderdale in the NASL. But what a way to go. Get in, two yellows within 40 minutes, and never play MLS soccer again. That's a story worth telling. Anyways, in the next match, Philly would return home to play their home opening match in front of over 35,000 fans at Lincoln Financial Field against DC United. Now, to caveat this DC team would end up being one of the worst in the team's history. They won the Wooden Spoon on just 22 points, which only recently has moved out of the top 10 worst seasons of all time. However, they did support some familiar faces, including Chris Pontius, Rodney Wallace, Brandon Barklage, Dejan Jakovic, and Troy Perkins. Philly would have to adjust their lineup due to the absence of Tony Stahl, but Sebastian Letou would get the start again next to Alejandro Moreno in the attacking positions. Philly were desperate to get off the mark, especially in front of this massive crowd after they were shut out in their game prior. And as this team stood in their respective halves, referee Terry Vaughn blew the whistle and the match was off. As Sebastian Letou puts it, everybody was nervous. They didn't know how many people were going to show up to this match or what the reception would be. So when they walked out to the crowd of 35,000 fans, they knew how badly they needed to win. And just 4 minutes into the match, he gave the fans what they came for. A free kick from Roger Torres headed towards goal, saved very, very well by Troy Perkins diving down to his left. Alejandro Moreno picks up the ball in the corner, then finds Torres again. He swings in a left-footed service that just perfectly finds the head of an on-rushing Sebastian Letou, who nods it home from close range to give the Union a 1-0 lead and send the packed crowd into a frenzy celebrating their first ever MLS goal. The fans are buzzing, players are feeling it, and this was as good a start as anybody in the Union organization could have asked for, especially in their first home match. But it would get better. After defending strong in their own box, Philly were given a counterattacking opportunity in the 40th minute. Christian Arrieta would get the ball up to Alejandro Moreno, who hit a massive switch field pass to find the feet of Sebastian Letou. His first touch took him past the back line in a sprint towards goal, and just as he got to the penalty area, he fired a shot low and hard to the bottom right corner past Troy Perkins to give Philly a 2-0 lead and once again send the crowd into a frenzy. It was all coming up aces for Philly as they got into the break 2-0 ahead. But as the saying goes, 2-0 is the worst lead in sports, and DC would prove it. As Philly attempted to possess the ball out of the back in the 63rd minute, a wayward pass by Orozco was intercepted by Santino Correnta. He would take it himself into the Philly half before lining up a left-footed strike from 25 yards that snuck past Chris Seitz and in. All was okay, though, as Philly was still up 1 with 25 to go. Then calamity would strike. Chris Seitz collects the ball in his box and prepares to clear his lines with a long punt. However, everybody's least favorite Bolivian striker, Jaime the Fat Bastard Moreno, was lurking on the edge of the box. And just as Seitz goes to punt the ball, Moreno fakes putting his boot in front of Chris Seitz's clearance. Seitz then hesitates, drops the ball at the foot of Moreno, who fakes his first chance to get Seitz on the ground and finishes into an empty net. What's insane about this is nobody argued with the referee, something you would see for minutes in today's game. They all just picked up the ball and said, let's go back at it again. Just a few days later, Paul Tamburino, a 4-time MLS Referee of the Year and at the time, Director of Referee Development at USSF, would come out and say that the goal should have been disallowed for interference. But with no VAR and no second looks, the goal stood, and Philly were on the wrong side of a momentum swing and on the verge of leaving their home opener with less than a desirable outcome. That was until Sebastian Letou would play hero. In the 78th minute, the ball would fly over the heads of Moreno and Jakovic, who was defending him. As Moreno spun Jakovic, he was in on goal, and Jakovic drags him down or outside the box, earning himself a straight red for dog show and an early shower. Letou would step up to the free kick just 25 yards from goal and give Philly fans the moment he will never forget. He steps up and strikes the ball with as much power as he could, driving it low and hard to Perkins' right-hand side. Troy Perkins took a half step in the wrong direction, and that was all that was needed for Sebastien Letou to sneak it into the bottom corner of the goal. As he ran over to the bench to celebrate with coaches and teammates alike, the 35,000 Union fans in attendance were beside themselves. The Union would see out the final 10 minutes of the match and leave Lincoln Financial with a huge 3 points, and their fans left with memories to last a lifetime. Expansion seasons are not easy. The Union would not fare well in 2010, finishing with just 31 points in a much weaker Eastern Conference compared to the West. However, this was the start of the Sebastien Letou legend arc in Philadelphia, leaving as a player who would record nearly 200 appearances across all competitions, racking up 53 goals and 46 assists in his time. While the Union fans did not have a ton to celebrate in 2010, Sebastien Letou's hat trick heroics in the home opening game can be that bright light in the relatively dim room of that season.
I feel like having these massive first games is just like so crucial for getting these fans to stick around and like become full-time fans. Cause like you go there, cause like maybe you're just like, oh, this is something new, like it's cool, like there's a lot of buzz around this. Let's go to the first game. Let's just see how it is. And then you go there, and then you're hyped because it's like a really good game, and Philly wins and all that stuff. It's like I should come back next week and do this again. And then before you know it, you're hooked, and you're a fan.
100%. We say that all the time, right? Watching it on TV is one thing, and you can complain about it being behind a paywall or whatever. The best way to get involved and to start following a team is go. If you got somebody who's got an extra ticket or is willing to pay for you to go, go. That's how you get into it. It's not about following, social media and with fans alike or whatever. Some people can do that, but most people can't. You got to go and be a part of it. And that is something that they did here in Philadelphia, which was it's just brilliant. I mean, they had a little documentary on it as well, and it was so good to watch. You could tell like even the people who were talking about the game were like reliving it, and you saw it in their emotions as they were speaking. Like it brought back some really, really good thoughts.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the tough parts about being like building the game in the US. It's just like the US is so big. It's harder to kind of be like, oh, just pop over to your local team and go like watch a game. Just as we were talking about in the last episode, even Philly Stadium in Chester is 15 miles from Philadelphia. So it's like it's kind of far, like it's far from a lot of places. Like 15 miles in England is probably like you could probably pass 10 different teams between 15 miles in England, like easily. So it's just so much easier to pop over there and go see a game and get hooked. Like I genuinely do think that makes like such a big difference in the game and why like England can grow the game much better than an MLS side can. But I'll tell you one thing they can't do better than an MLS side, and that's a preseason friendly in 2010. So I'm here to tell you about the KC Wizards against Manchester United. In 2006, Sporting Club purchased the KC Wizards, following a few successful seasons in the years prior. However, since that takeover, KC was on a bit of a dry spell, with the last 5 years since the takeover resulting in no trophies, no finals, and at best, a fourth place finish in the Western Conference. The fans needed something to cheer for, and the ownership group for KC thought one way to do that would be to organize a friendly with arguably the biggest team in the world at that time, Manchester United. Now, this isn't the first time an MLS side has taken on a team from the Premier League. I recommend you check out our episode on Columbus versus West Ham. However, considering how popular and well known Manchester United are, this was sure to draw a big crowd, and draw a big crowd it did. In the video posted by MLS, Matt Beasler talks about how unusual it was for so many players as they stepped onto the field that day, since they've never played in front of a crowd of so many people before. I have to imagine there was a mix of excitement and nervousness walking out of that tunnel. There were about 63,000 people in attendance for this game, which at the time was the biggest crowd ever for a soccer match in Kansas City. The only downside for the KC players was there was a lot of red in the stands. Not too dissimilar from friendlies today, involving some of Europe's giants. A lot of people that come to see those matches are there for the European team. And considering this might be their only chance to see them play in person, I can't blame them too much. However, the goal for KC out there on the field was to ultimately change the tide and make these fans cheer for their hometown team, and the game started off in the perfect way to accomplish this goal. In just the 11th minute, Davy Arnaud finds himself in behind the defense with only Manchester United's Raphael playing him onside, meaning Arnaud only has to beat keeper Ben Amos in order to put KC up ahead early. Arnaud calmly slots the ball past Amos to give KC the lead. And while there were big cheers from the crowd, I think there was still this feeling of, wow, that was cool. But I still think Manchester United is going to score tons of goals past this team. And it definitely felt like that would be the case because in the 39th minute, Jimmy Conrad slides into the back of Dimitar Berbatov to not only give Manchester United a penalty, but to also get himself sent off with a straight red card in a friendly, by the way. KC now down to 10 men with 50 minutes still left to play. Berbatov steps up and easily scores the pen to the keeper's left to make things level. And I'm sure there was a strong feeling of here comes the rout in the crowd after Manchester United scored and was now up a player as well. However, the rout did not come, as only a minute later, Kai Kamara would head a corner off the crossbar and in to restore the lead for Kansas City. The crowd more and more growing on KC's side as the game has progressed, erupts into cheers after this goal. The job isn't done yet, though. A lot of time left, and KC, reminder, is still down a player. As the game progresses, Man U continue to get their chances, but KC keeps shutting all these chances down. And as KC continues to keep Man U out, the crowd more and more begins to get behind KC and root for them to hold on and see out this victory. Inevitably, KC was able to hold on and take home the win in front of 60,000 plus people, many of which I'm sure became fans of the club from that day forward. When the final whistle blew, there were huge cheers in the stands from their hometown team who took down Manchester United. It was a complete shift in the atmosphere of the game from the beginning to the end, with so many more people rooting for a KC win. Even though Man U wasn't playing their strongest team, this definitely felt like a much needed big win for a team that likely needed a boost.
A couple notes. First off, you said one of the biggest teams in the world. You did not say Red Bull, which is kind of crazy.
Red Bull
Um,
Leipzig?
nice. Also, getting a red card in a friendly is so manager Eno coded. It's ridiculous. Like that. That is so up his alley of what would actually happen. I love it.
I don't even think like I think in a regular game you could definitely make the argument that it would be a red card, but like in a friendly, I don't think it was that egregious where it should have been a straight red.
No,
I don't
100. I've seen this video. I've done this one before, and 100%. Like that's like know the game, know the style, right? There's no need. Like he didn't go in and kill the guy. He came
yeah.
in and he clattered into his back. He was the last man. Like yeah, it's a. If he goes in and like punches somebody in the face, yeah, he's off. He tripped
Yeah.
the guy up. Keep him on. Let's play the game. It's a friendly. We're
Yeah,
the
give him a
referee didn't
yellow,
know.
give Man
Yeah,
U the pen, and let's
yeah,
just keep going. Let's play it 11v11.
yeah,
It's a friendly.
yeah. I remember that. I thought the referee was poor on that moment there for sure.
He
Um,
handed out a lot of cards that game. I remember
yeah,
seeing the final sheet. There was like 5 cards handed out that game. It's like, bro, it's a friendly. Well, relax.
yeah, it's just silly stuff. But yeah, no, that's I remember watching that video back and being like, man, that would have been sick to be in that area. And again, you're gonna have your hometown people like, oh my God, we beat Man U with a player down for 45 minutes or more than 45 minutes. And, God, look at us. Like, what a great day to be. And then you're going to have your other people who are like, yeah, but it's just a preseason. It doesn't matter. But if Man U beat the crap out of them, it would have been like, oh, yeah, you guys stink.
Yeah, well, you're never gonna be able to convince those people otherwise. So
No. And
falling on deaf ears.
yeah, we've had that conversation many a times, but we hope everybody enjoyed those stories from MLS history. Make sure you are following and subscribing and all of that good stuff for our next series, where we're going to talk about RSL's run to the CCL finals for the first. I think they were the first club in like the modern era since 2000 to get there, and then we're also going to chat about SKC again coming back down in the last minutes of a game to beat Houston 4-3 after being down 3-1. Thanks again for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time on the next episode of the Designated Players MLS podcast. See ya.